Would you believe me if I told you Mr. Krabs is spying on everyone in Bikini Bottom? During an episode in Season 6, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward find Mr. Krabs' secret surveillance room. I started asking myself, why would he possibly need to do this? If Mr. Krabs was really using this for protection, you don't think he'd have 10 cameras surrounding his money? So I'm left here thinking, could he really be using this for blackmail, collecting information to manipulate situations in his favor? Or could this actually be something a lot darker than that? And could Sandy be part of the entire thing? The episode Truth or Square starts with everyone in Bikini Bottom preparing for the Krusty Krab's 11th anniversary. SpongeBob, excited as ever, is tasked with decorating the Krusty Krab. While preparing, SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, and Mr. Krabs accidentally get trapped in the Krusty Krab's freezer. To pass the time, and to find a way out, they start exploring the air ducts. As they navigate through the ducts, the episode takes a trip down memory lane. There are a series of flashbacks and imagined sequences. These include alternate scenarios and a play that shows SpongeBob and Sandy getting married. Yeah, I think this scene deserves a video on its own because, yeah. Anyways, as they continue through the air ducts, they find Mr. Krabs' surveillance room. The episode is interspersed with live action scenes featuring celebrity guests like Robin Williams, Pink, Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, and LeBron James. This has nothing to do with the theory. I just thought it was funny seeing LeBron talking to Patchy the pirate.
LeBron James!
The theory suggests that Mr. Krabs might be selling this surveillance information to parties interested in studying the effects of radioactivity on the residents. You've probably heard the theory that Bikini Bottom is a byproduct of nuclear testing, right? If that's true, then every day in Bikini Bottom is like a live experiment, a goldmine for anyone studying how radioactivity affects on marine life. Now, imagine Mr. Krabs not just as a greedy business crab, but as a key player in a secret operation. What if he's been selling surveillance data to outsiders, scientists, governments? Who knows? Mr. Krabs could be cashing in on his neighbors' lives, exploiting the potential aftermath of a nuclear disaster. The idea that he's secretly trading this information for profit paints a dark picture. It's not just about his greed anymore. It's about the exploitation of an entire community living in a potentially hazardous environment. Now, I'm not going to get into too much detail about the Bikini Atoll nuclear testing theory because it's been done dozens of times already, but I do want to skim through it real quick, so this could all make sense. The theory suggests that the show's setting, Bikini Bottom, is a reference to Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands, known for its use by the United States for nuclear testing from 1946 to 1958. This theory suggests that the characters, including SpongeBob, are the result of mutations caused by nuclear fallout, evidenced by their human-like intelligence and behavior. Sandy Cheeks, a squirrel from Texas, is particularly notable in this theory. Living underwater in a dome and wearing a protective suit, she is seen as representing human involvement in nuclear testing. The theory point out details and hidden clues in the show, like explosions that look like mushroom clouds and the old-fashioned 1950s style, which match the time when the nuclear test happened. It suggests similarities between the colorful sea life in Bikini Bottom and a fanciful version of a place after a nuclear test. The real-world impact of radiation on marine life at Bikini Atoll, where radioactive material has entered the food chain, causing mutations and ecological changes, fuels this theory. Steven Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants, had a background in marine biology, which gives some plausibility to the idea that he might have been aware of these environmental issues. In Season 10, there's an episode called Feral Friends. Basically, there's this weird green moon that turns everyone in Bikini Bottom into wild animals. Sandy is the only one who doesn't get affected, and she tries to save her friends from going full-on animal mode. Squidward, being one of the last people affected by it, tells Sandy he wants an explanation, and this is where she pulls out her smartwatch and literally calls a scuba diver, but not just any scuba diver, literally the narrator of the show. Sandy, freaking out, about to explain everything that's going on to the scuba diver, he stops her and tells her not to worry because he's been monitoring the whole time.
Frenchie, you see there's this...
Don't say another word. I have been monitoring the behavior of the green moon all day.
Excuse me? Is this the person responsible for all the cameras in Bikini Bottom? Consider the idea that the surveillance theory is more than just an odd plot element. It's a profound metaphorical exploration of the consequences of nuclear disasters. In this narrative, Mr. Krabs isn't just a money-hungry crustacean, he embodies those who profit from environmental catastrophes. Mr. Krabs' warning to SpongeBob and Patrick about the dangers of the hooks in the Hooky episode might have a different motive rooted in it of itself. Mr. Krabs is not primarily concerned about SpongeBob's and Patrick's safety, but rather about the possibility of his own surveillance activities being exposed. Mr. Krabs, who has been secretly surveilling the residents of Bikini Bottom for financial gain, fears that if SpongeBob or Patrick were to get caught on a hook, they might interact with the fishermen. These fishermen could potentially be linked to the parties with the surveillance data. If SpongeBob or Patrick were to find out and reveal any information about Mr. Krabs or his actions, even inadvertently, it could lead serious consequences for Mr. Krabs. The hooks represent not just a physical danger to the characters, but also a potential link to the outside world that could unravel Mr. Krabs' secret activities. His warnings about the hooks, therefore, are a self-protective measure to prevent his own misdeeds from being discovered. This adds a layer of complexity to Mr. Krabs' character, painting him as more calculating and secretive than he appears on the surface. Mr. Krabs often embodies the darker side of entrepreneurial spirit, particularly his readiness to exploit situations and characters for financial gain. In the Squirrel Jokes episode, SpongeBob starts doing stand-up comedy at the Krusty Krab. Initially, his jokes aren't very successful until he starts making fun of Sandy's squirrel traits. These jokes include stereotypical observations about squirrels, which the audience finds hilarious.
Why does it take more than one squirrel to change a light bulb?
Why?
Because they're so darn stupid.
Mr. Krabs, as the owner of the Krusty Krab, encourages SpongeBob to keep making these jokes because they're drawing in large crowds and, consequently, more money. He just doesn't care, as long as he's making money. In Jellyfish Hunter, Mr. Krabs discovers a lucrative opportunity when SpongeBob adds jellyfish jelly to a Krabby Patty, making it a huge hit with the customers.
I've got to tell someone about this!
Sensing a chance to increase profits, Mr. Krabs eagerly pushes SpongeBob to gather more jellyfish jelly, exploiting SpongeBob's unique ability to communicate with jellyfish. Initially, SpongeBob collects the jelly in a respectful and sustainable manner. However, as the demand for jelly burgers skyrockets, Mr. Krabs' greed leads him to ramp up production. He sets up a large-scale operation, massively over-harvesting jellyfish without any regard for their well-being or the environmental impact. Or what about the countless of episodes he has served not only himself, but customers of the Krusty Krab old food just to save a couple dollars? In Born Again, Mr. Krabs becomes cheap to the point of insanity, even trying to serve a rotten Krabby Patty. In The Krusty Sponge, Mr. Krabs capitalizes on SpongeBob's popularity, eventually serving spoiled Krabby Patties dyed yellow. There are dozens of more examples I could show you, but I think you get the point. Krabs can and will take advantage of any situations, even if it means making 50 cents. So why wouldn't he take a lucrative business idea with Sandy where he could possibly make more than he ever dreamed spying on the residents of Bikini Bottom? Now, for the last piece of evidence to tie this theory, the fishbowl was an episode that, if at the time, if you were even thinking of this surveillance theory, you would have... In this episode, Sandy gets super into this behavioral psychology book, right? She's all set to study the behavior of the underwater creatures in Bikini Bottom. Like, come on. First, she tries observing them on a bus, but ends up annoying everyone and getting kicked out. She then spots SpongeBob and Patrick and decides they're perfect for her study. She starts off by just watching them, but they get all weird and stiff, knowing they're being observed. When Sandy ends the experiment, they go back to normal. Sandy then gets a bit sneaky. She sends SpongeBob and Patrick to the beach to collect sand and secretly plants microphones and cameras to watch them.
I just wanted to observe you acting naturally, so I hid microphones and cameras around your house.
Cameras?
I mean, she's not even trying to hide it at this point. But I want to leave this question off to you. Could Krabs and Sandy really be surveillancing Bikini Bottom?